Governor Greg Abbott says a disaster aid package sent to Congress is way too small.
But one of our county leaders says that our requests for disaster aid are also off the mark.
We need millions of dollars, and I'm not so sure that the requests made in this area were even enough.
Thanks for joining us on this Monday. When you look around, the state of Texas still has a lot of rebuilding and recovery left.
Yes, ma'am. But state leaders feel they're being shortchanged by the federal government. Chris 6 reporter Jane Caffrey's been looking at those numbers, and she joins us now to break them down. Jane.
Lee, Governor Abbott lobbied for $61 billion in federal disaster aid for Texas, but instead the White House is proposing a $44 billion aid package. And that's not just for Texas. That pot of money would also be split with Florida and Puerto Rico. For state leaders, those numbers just don't add up.
To make sure that we recover. Thank you very much.
With this handshake, Governor Abbott hoped to secure $61 billion in federal disaster aid for Texas. But now the governor is calling the White House's $44 billion aid proposal, quote, completely inadequate.
If that number includes Texas, Florida, and Puerto Rico, then I don't think that's going to be far enough and enough to handle it.
It's the president's third request to Congress, and it would bring the total allocated to disaster relief this fall close to $100 billion. But Texas alone has $200 billion in damages from the hurricane. County Commissioner Brent Chesney's precinct was one of the hardest hit by Harvey. He sees the need daily, and he hopes this proposal is not the final word when it comes to federal aid.
You get the money that is requested, and then you justify to the White House and to the Congress, hey, look, we've spent it right. We may have to ask for more.
Chesney says every penny counts, especially with so many storm victims still without a home. With fewer federal funds, local efforts to put roofs over their heads are slowed down.
People are suffering, and we need to get them help right now.
And as state leaders now face the task of rebuilding with fewer federal funds, Chesney says local leaders will also need to figure out how to do more with less.
Well, we need millions of dollars. That is what concerns me about that $44 billion number, is I think, if anything, Nueces County was probably light in its requests, and we'll need more.
There's no timeline yet on when Congress will take up the disaster aid request.